Thank you very much for coming. We're Catholic Film, and thank you, Sue, for the beautiful documentary. And I would start with from the beginning. I mean, I was just writing some notes when I was watching the movie, and I've seen this child, Daniel. He showed up at the very beginning, and he had this badge that said. They had like a camera crosstalk, or maybe what did that mean?
So what happened was nobody really cared at all about the jungle until it was going to be pulled down, and so I got there, as I say, relatively late. I was there a month before it was taken down, but in the few days before it was taken down, in the end there were 60, well approximately, because I counted all they have these outside broadcast vans all in one place, about 60 news, TV news crews from around the world. And God knows how many journalists, and suddenly the kids that we knew quite well and had built up a relationship with were being asked, every 3 minutes. So that they had a little badge that I think it was Refugee Youth Service made that had a camera crossed out. But as I say, because we'd filmed with them for the weeks before, they were happy to film with us. But there were lots and lots of people I didn't, who just said I don't want to be filmed, and then we didn't. Obviously you have to be careful.
Is it mainly boys, or is it girls and boys? What's the ratio?
It's mainly boys. I think they're about more or less in general coming into Europe about of the under 18s about 80-85% of boys, because Muslim countries would just never send a girl. They would never let a girl do that journey. And basically, especially from like Afghanistan. Well, in fact, most countries. The parents send the children away. There's often one parent, usually the mother. It's often a situation where the father's been killed or is off fighting or something like that. And the family, often done through the mother, will send the kid away. And generally Muslim people would not ever send a girl, because they just wouldn't want to, send a girl on a journey that might take 2 years where they're being trafficked. That more African girls from African countries, they do tend to come, without families. And also the reason a lot of it is boys, because they're usually, very often, it's not always that they've seen anything terrible or anything terrible has happened to them. What happens is they're sent away when they're about 14 so that they don't get kind of coerced into military service. So all the Afghan boys, it's because the Taliban would recruit them or someone would recruit them. And often at their schools, it's almost an accepted thing. In this village, when you get to 14, we'll take you off and train you. And they know it's coming. And in Eritrea, it's done through the government. It's like the government conscripts people for lifelong military service. And they often to like exercise violence against their own communities. And they just often they're boys who are being sent away at 13, 14 to avoid that. And then of course when they do get here, the Home Office says, well, nothing bad happened to you, nobody attacked you, nobody killed you, but they're sent away as a prevention, so then it's very hard for them to get status. There should have been somebody at the jungle, so near our border, saying, hello, young person, have you got family in England? Yes, okay, Dublin 3, that way. Have you not got family? Okay, potential Dobbs case. Are you actually, just from, I don't know, Armenia or somewhere? Sorry, you probably don't qualify for anything. There should have been some kind of processing all along.
When you say there are people who have family over here, it must be quite difficult to ascertain if they actually do have family. But where they do have family, can those family not make applications if they're in touch with them, if they know they have an uncle or an aunt?
Yes.
And they're in touch with them?
Yes.
Can they not make an application to bring them? Does it have to be totally from their side to do this?
No, what happens is if a child in Calais, in that period had said, I have a brother, so it has to be close family, it has to be brother, sister,
aunt or something like that.
Brother, sister, father, mother, uncle, aunt, but not cousin. I think it goes like that. Then if they say, I've got a brother, they're in Manchester, here's their phone number, they give that information, then the British side will have either, as you say, already been contacted by that family saying, I only know this kid is in Calais, I don't know where. Often the relatives in England don't even know the child's arrived, and then a liaison happens, as you say, the family is generally, in UK families, quite proactive in saying, yes, I'll submit to a DNA test, and then they will have to give evidence, family photos, you know, they'll have to give the whole family history to prove that there's a proper connection.
And presumably they don't arrive with very much documentation on them. I
And
doubt very
most-
many of
mostly
them
the
have
kids don't have any.
passports or ID or anything. do they?
Exactly, so the kids won't have very much.
Under
Yeah.
the Dublin Agreement,
Yeah,
they really should be claiming asylum in the first safe country. And then Dublin 2 allows them to claim when they have family.
yes.
But what are we doing about the French and Belgium and the other governments in terms of the treatment of them while they're waiting for a final settlement place?
Well, no,
Can't all be England.
yeah, no, it's a good point. When you say it can't all be England,
It's not
you know,
England at all.
Germany has 1.2 million refugees that they accepted. Italy and Greece between them have got I think they've got 500,000 each. I'm not up to date on the figures. Sweden, which has a population of 7 million, has far more child refugees, has accepted more than us. So when people say it can't all be England, we are disgracefully, criminally low in the number we're taking. And when you think there are only 2,000 at Calais, I always say to people, only 2,000 out of almost 100,000, that's like 2%. So only 2% were trying to get to England out of all the kids in Europe. The French did take a lot of the adults, and the deal was, as you see in the film, President Hollande rang Theresa May and said, he obviously knew about Dublin 3, he said, you know, there's a very strong legal case for you to take the minors, and we're dealing with the adults. And 8,000 adults, I mean about 1,000 of them absconded because they didn't want to go into the French system for whatever reasons, you know, for various reasons. But you know, to be fair, the French did okay with the adults, but sure, of course, you'd have to criticise the French for the violence of the policing. But we pay for that. You know, we the UK pay for the CRS.
But we don't pay them to devour it, though.
We do. We pay for every grenade, every tear gas canister. We pay for the so-called security, which is the polite word that was used for this extra 44 million. Security actually means aggression. It means actually attacking people and stripping off their coats in cold weather and spraying them in the face with pepper spray and spraying their sleeping bags so they can't get back in it.
I think
So we do pay for that, and we shouldn't be paying for it if we must have some control over the methods if we're paying for it, surely. Technically, the under 18s would be better staying in France because they get citizenship quicker, they get education, but the system of integration is terribly strict. But every time you try to explain that to an under 18, I mean, either they'll say, because they're Dublin 3, all I want is to be with my uncle, or all I want is to be with my cousin. But the ones that don't have family, they say, why would I stay in a country where my only experience of it is being tear-gassed every night? There's a law in France that says you can't make anyone, like for landlords, saying you can't make anyone homeless in winter. They can be homeless, but you can't make somebody homeless. So that's why when Theresa May wouldn't take the children, the French put them in accommodations over the winter. That's why the camp closed just before winter started. That was all done before November the 1st. And so we had to they sent them to 64 centres, a lot in the south. And we had to, because they wanted to take them away from Calais, and we had to find them. You know, the kids we knew, we had to find them really quickly. So I had to wait for the kids to phone to see where they were. And I got this call from this kid saying, help, help. And I said, well, where are you? And he gave me the name of a village, and it was this fantastically beautiful tourist village in Provence in the mountains. I was like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. And he says, that's horrible, I hate it. And I said, what's wrong with it? And he said, there's big ruins, there's been a war. And I said I think that was about 800 years ago. I said, French people like those ruins. They pay a lot of money to go and look at them. And he's going, no, that can't be right. And I was saying, no, really. So it was some like ruined castle. And he said, it's horrible, I hate it here. It's full of signs of war. And he said, I just want to be in Luton. And I was going, no, you don't. But you know, so it does. But this obsession with England, you know, you think one of them wanted, his family was in Glasgow. I was going, it's cold in Glasgow. You're in Provence. Just relax, you know.
What steps do I know some councils seem to be more willing to work to welcome them than others.
That's true. Yeah.
That's fairly well known. But
Yeah.
how is there any sort of program? You have a nice program set up to try and help them while they're there. But once they're here, what sort of support program is there for them to help them integrate? I mean, in Sweden they have terrible trouble because they haven't tried to integrate the people.
There is a great organisation called Social Workers Without Borders, which is social workers who voluntarily go to the camps, go into Europe at weekends and holidays to help the kids. And I think all social workers, if possible, should have to go and visit, you know, where the kids have been, where they've come from, to understand it more. So because all the boroughs are getting their funding cut, a lot of the charity, you know, the action groups like Care for Calais, Calais Action and all these groups, the same groups that were in Calais, actually have informal things here to help kids integrate.
Surely a film of this value, which you know, shows so much the situation on the ground, not sort of doctored or made particularly pretty or nice, should be shown on sort of national, on a national basis.
No, I agree, and I mean I've made about 20 films for TV, but BBC said it's unbalanced. They've seen it. They said it's unbalanced, and so I wrote back and said I couldn't find anyone who supported tear gassing children to speak on the other side. So that was the end of that conversation. Channel 4 said it's too critical of the government. Channel 4, who I've worked for 30 years, and ITV said, you know the rules, Sue, you've been in this business long enough. We didn't want all this ranting about the British government. 3 kids, and you know the rule of 3 in TV, they say you know the rule of 3. You know, probably 2 boys and a girl, you know, a cute one, a clever one and a funny one, you know, and we'll feel sorry for them and that's it. And I just thought, you know, and I said, I'm not making this for people to feel sorry for refugees, I'm making this to say we, it's like what I said in the very first sentence, we the British pay the French to do our dirty work on our border.
That's really funny because I wanted to...
But TV doesn't want to know that. The reason I made it the way I did is because it's going to court, you know, it's evidence for court. And so maybe you're right, maybe I'm being sort of disingenuous because I didn't make it in a conventional TV way. It's a bit longer and it's me ranting about the British government basically because I'm going to court with it. And I want to change the law. So all the time making it, my sort of filmmaker self was arguing with my campaigner self and saying, I want to make an eloquent, like Ai Weiwei's film, I want to make a beautiful film with music and it's going to make everyone cry and it's going to be profound and blah blah. But then I thought, well actually no, I want to change the law, you know, and if I want to change the law, I have to make it evidence, evidence, evidence. Here's this kid, here's this kid, here's this kid, this is what the government did next, this is what they did next. And so it's maybe boring. I mean, I wonder if it's boring because it's very factual.
In Italy, like in Lampedusa and across the coast, and like 5,000 people in one day.
Exactly.
So like,
exactly. and I've been to Palermo, and they're, you know, exactly. They'll deal with 10,000 people a week, and they don't moan about it.
You know, like with so at least they get healthy to Calais because when they get to Italy, you know, they just cross the desert and they cross the Mediterranean without drinking for 5 days, and we have the centers completely full. I'm not gonna tell you who made the mess in Libya, okay, but I give you a hint. And like no, because that's the problem. Like in Syria, who made the mess in Syria? Let's ask why there are like 1 million refugees. There's 1 million refugees in Jordan. 1 million, like you know.
4 million in Turkey, 1 million in Jordan.
We're talking about an enormous number. We're talking about an Holocaust in Syria. We're talking, you know, like a big mess made by this country, and you know these people, you know, they basically wanna go to Europe, as simple as that, and they wanna escape the famine and the hunger, and partly it's caused by us.
It's an absolute scandal how little Europe has supported Greece and Italy because Greece and Italy have taken all the weight, all the pressure.
Massive pressure.
And I mean, especially like Lampedusa, but Palermo. I work quite a lot in Palermo, and. Does anyone know about the mayor of Palermo? He's called Orlando, Mayor Orlando. Yeah. Well, you're Italian, right?
Yeah.
He's called Le Luca Orlando. And if you look online, there's a thing called the Palermo Charter, and it's the only, when anyone says what's the answer to the whole migration issue, the only thing I've ever read that makes any sense is the Palermo Charter. And he says, you know, what does he say? The Mediterranean is not a wall, it's a road. You know, and he's trying to have this organisation of the mayors all the way around the Mediterranean, the city mayors, and he's just got this completely other way of looking at borders or not borders. And he says, we're proud to be the first Islamic city in Europe. Palermo, you know, I mean, he just comes out of these, and he said there are no refugees in Palermo, they're only Palermitanos, you know. And I mean, I know some of it's like PR, but they've taken into Sicily, I don't know how many, hundreds of thousands, and they say every what we call a detention centre, they call a welcome centre. You know, good idea.
Yeah.
And they've said that they should never have more than 90 people because then it starts to become an institution. And most villages in Sicily have the little welcome centre.
I thought it was a beautifully paced film,
Oh, thank you very
full
much.
of really poignant scenes,
Oh, thank you very
and I
much.
thought it was one of the most beautiful things I've seen film.
Well, you can buy me a drink then.